The desert sun was cruel that day, painting the Apache plains in gold and red fire. The air shimmered with heat, but it wasn't just the sun that burned, it was fear. Inside the village, a young Apache girl named Naya sat alone, her heart pounding like a war drum. The elders had spoken by sunset. She would be married to Chief Coma, a man old enough to be her grandfather. She had no voice in it, no choice. Her life had been traded for an alliance. Her dreams buried under the weight of tradition. The women dressed her in ceremonial clothes made of soft buckskin and beads, but every bead felt like a chain around her soul. Her mother wept silently, unable to defy the tribe's will. Naya's hands trembled as she looked beyond the horizon. She had seen him once, the man they called Luke Carrigan, the cowboy who rode across the desert trading supplies and stories. He was unlike anyone she had met, rough as the wind, but his eyes carried a kindness that spoke to something deep in her. He had once saved a wounded Apache boy and brought him back to the village. That small act had earned him quiet respect and Naya's secret admiration. Now she prayed he might come again. The drums began to beat in the distance, announcing the beginning of her wedding ritual. Her heart screamed in silence. The world around her blurred, the chants, the smoke, the elders' voices. She could barely breathe. Then suddenly, above the noise of the drums, came a sound, the thundering rhythm of hooves. Dust rose near the horizon and every head turned. A lone rider was approaching. The cowboy rode fast, his coat flapping in the wind, his hat pulled low to shield his eyes. Luke Carrigan reined his horse just at the edge of the circle, where the elders stood in shock and fury. "What business do you have here, outsider?" Chief Coma barked. Luke dismounted slowly, his boots sinking into the sand. "Business with her," he said, pointing to Naya. Gasps filled the air. Naya's heart leaped, but fear clenched her chest. No one challenged the tribe like that and lived to tell it. "She's not yours," Coma spat, gripping his spear. Luke's voice stayed calm, his eyes locked on Naya's tear-streaked face. "She's not yours either, not if she doesn't choose you." The crowd murmured, and for a heartbeat, silence ruled the desert. Then Naya ran. Her bare feet kicked up dust as she raced toward Luke. Coma shouted orders, and warriors moved to block her. But she darted through them like a bird breaking free from its cage. "Please," she cried, "take me away before they force me to marry." Without hesitation, Luke grabbed her hand and swung her up onto his horse. The crowd erupted in chaos, shouts, threats, and arrows flying into the air. Luke spurred his horse hard, the animal leaping forward with raw power. Naya clung to him as the wind whipped her hair back, the drums fading behind them. The desert stretched wide and endless before them. For the first time, she felt the taste of freedom, dry and wild, like the breath of the earth itself. Behind them, the tribe's riders began their chase. Luke's horse galloped faster, hooves pounding the dry ground like thunder. "Hold on tight," he shouted over the roar of the wind. She didn't answer. She only pressed her face against his back, her tears drying in the heat of the chase. She didn't know what awaited them. But one thing was clear. She would never go back. And for the first time in her life, Naya dared to hope that destiny could be rewritten. They rode through the night, the desert stars guiding their way. The horizon glowed faintly blue as dawn crept in. Luke slowed his horse near an old canyon, its cliffs towering like ancient guards. Both were exhausted, dust clinging to their clothes and hair. Naya slid off the horse, her legs trembling. She had never been this far from home. "They'll come after us," she whispered. Luke nodded, his eyes scanning the desert rim. "Maybe, but they'll have to cross half the world to find you." His voice was steady, but beneath it was a storm. He had seen what happens when power crushes innocence, and he wasn't going to let it happen again. He built a small fire, shared water from his flask, and for a moment, they just sat there, two souls caught between worlds. Naya looked at him with gratitude and something deeper she couldn't name. "Why did you come back?" she asked softly. Luke stared at the fire. "Because no one should live without the right to choose." The wind howled through the canyon, carrying distant echoes of riders. They both heard it. The tribe was coming. Luke stood, tightened his saddle straps, and faced her. "If they find us, they'll take you back." "I can lead them away." Naya's eyes filled with tears. "No, I'd rather die free than live. Chained." Her words hit him harder than any bullet ever could. He looked at her, the courage in her eyes, the fire that no tradition could extinguish. "Then we ride," he said. They mounted again and pushed onward through the canyon trails, their silhouettes framed by the rising sun. Warriors appeared in the distance, but Luke knew the terrain better. He led the horse through narrow paths, across dry riverbeds, dodging arrows that whistled through the air. The chase was fierce, but fate was on their side. At last, they reached a ridge overlooking a vast valley, the border to the Cowboy lands. Once they crossed it, no Apache would follow. With one last burst of strength, the horse leaped across the final slope, and they were free. Naya looked back one last time, tears streaming down her face. "It's over," she whispered. Luke smiled faintly. "No, Naya, it's just the beginning." They rode down into the valley, the sunrise painting them in gold. Two hearts defying the world, rewriting their own story of freedom. And as their figures disappeared into the horizon, one truth echoed through the desert wind. Sometimes, the bravest act of love is the courage to break the chains of fate.